I am so glad that they took away those Son points because too many people were happy. It brought me joy. It brought me joy, Daniel.
I'm doubling down. Cole Palmer is still not a big game player. And I think one more game, we've been proven once again that Cole Palmer does not perform in the big games.
You don't understand. You just don't understand. I think at some point, we're just going to have to start jumping around in between these premiums for when the good fixtures happen. And that could include selling Haaland as well.
It could even be that we need to just restructure our teams entirely so we can fit as many premiums in our team as possible. Haaland, Palmer, Saka, Son, can we get them all in one team?
Arsenal defence were the bankers. We were meant to get these clean sheet points over the last 3 game weeks, and we have been destroyed. What did we do?
They let us down, but will they keep letting us down in even tougher fixtures? Okay, guys, if you are looking for a new cheap forward for your FPL team, this is the list. Number 1. Yes, now, welcome to the Game Week 9 episode of the Stick to FPL podcast. We are back once again with me, Dan, FPL mate, and FPL Sim. How are we today, Sim?
I'm okay. I'm feeling better. I'm not feeling great about my FPL team specifically, but, you know.
Oh, we'll come to that.
It's not been great, but yeah, I'm feeling better in my spirit.
Good.
And my soul.
Yeah. And your illness.
And my illness.
Yeah, because it left your body and perhaps entered my body. As we found over the last week, I've been pretty ill myself. So, you know, I carried you a little bit last week. You can return the favour this week, I think.
That's okay. I carry you most weeks, so.
Yeah, fair. That's fair. But yes, guys, we are literally making each other ill to produce this podcast. We're coming in sick. We're making each other sick. Our bodies are suffering for this podcast. So do make sure you are dropping those likes, those 5-star ratings, and do subscribe as well. It would be massively, massively appreciated. But we've got some FPL to talk about today, man. We certainly do. Before we do that, a quick shout out to our regular sponsor, that is Fantasy Football Hub, who are offering a free trial for all their services right now. So if you want to check out Fantasy Football Hub, get involved in all of their great stuff, stats, articles, fixture analyzer, predictive points, AI team tools, all of the good stuff, completely for free. Get your free trial right now. Use the link in the description, in the link tree. You know where to find it by now, folks. I'm sure you will. But there is one topic I think we need to address immediately. It's like the elephant in the room. Or actually, it's one of 2 elephants in the room. There's 2 elephants this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about the second elephant, but
we're opening a circus with the amount of elephants we have right now. I'm not going to lie. But we need to talk about Heung-min Son. I want to go straight in on this. Let's get this out of the way. Because this has been a controversial one this week. So for those of you who maybe didn't watch the Spurs-West Ham game, this is what happened during the game. So Heung-min Son took a shot, and for those watching on video, we'll have a lovely graphic on screen for you right now. So Heung-min Son takes a shot towards Areola, labelled as number 1. It's in number order here. And then the shot deflects back on to Todibo. So Areola makes the save, goes back to Todibo. The Todibo touch then takes the ball away from the goal, but towards Areola once again. And then it finally, after that, finds its way to the back of the net. Now, this was initially credited as a Son assist, and a lot of people weren't happy about that. It was like, it went mad on Twitter in particular. It went absolutely crazy. Outrage. How could this be given as a Son assist? Particularly as so many people have sneakily transferred Saka out for Son in the final minute. So it's controversy on top of controversy in the FPL world. Because under any normal circumstances, this is not a Son assist. If Son had taken a shot and then it deflects off a player and then goes in the back of the net, Son assist. But the fact that the ball is bouncing around so much, going on target, then off, then on, before finding the back of the net, there's too many passages of play, I guess. Touches on the ball, misdirections of the ball before it goes into the back of the net for it to count as a Son assist. So, FPL corrected it today at time of recording, on Monday, which is the first time anything like this has ever happened.
I was just going to say, I've never seen this level of faffing, because it was, when it first happened, it was TBC.
Yeah.
And then they went for the Son assist eventually, right? But the moment I saw it, I was like, this should be non.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Well,
Sorry, no.
OG none.
OG none.
Yeah.
That's how it should be, right? And obviously I don't own Son, so but also Son's quite low in terms of EO. Obviously I know because of like sort of Saka gate, things kind of went a little bit haywire on Twitter, but like in the general sense of the word,
In the real world.
Yeah, Son's relatively low owned, so I wasn't that fussed if he got it or not.
Yeah.
But when I saw it, my first instinct was it was gonna be like he wasn't gonna get accredited for it. But then they gave it. And then they put out an article explaining why they gave it.
Uh-huh.
And then they put out another tweet today saying that they didn't, yesterday.
Yeah.
That they didn't give it. Like, what? And their explanation was that before the investigation had concluded, the points were given. So why did you put out an article?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've never seen anything like that. And all I know is I want my Solly March points. You know, that's all I'm thinking. Because clearly, like, you can still faff a while later. Because the whole thing was meant to be after 6 o'clock or after 2 hours after the last game finishes or something like that.
No,
they don't.
No more
they
changes.
don't change any person's points or allocation of points. So to do it a day after, I've never seen that before, and that's well dodgy.
Well, it's not dodgy, and I'll tell you for why. And this is something that I have to hold my hands up and say, FPL, fair play, guys. You've sorted a big issue out, because you mentioned the Solly March goal that was never given a couple of seasons ago. I had him captain for that week.
You captain?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I lost out a captain goal because they incorrectly didn't give March the goal. So I'm very glad that now situations like that can be resolved, and it's because a subtle rule change this season whereby they can continue to edit points all the way up until after the final game of the game week. So they've given themselves an extra little bit of time this season to correct any mistakes that may have been made, which is brilliant. It means we're going to see less situations where Solly March doesn't get given his goal, or Fernandes with his phantom assist a couple of seasons ago.
That was well dodgy.
It was. And this season, Son was given a phantom assist as well. So now they can fix things. I think that's great for the integrity of the game.
No, as in, I'm glad that the correct decision was reached.
Yeah.
I just think it's. I hope they continue in this vein.
I think
rather than this just being a one-off.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think this was kind of why it maybe took a little bit longer, because this is the first time something like this has happened, and now we're going to see more of it, which I think is brilliant, because I think we all want the right and fair results, even if it does take a day to get it right. But something we do need to wrap our heads around a little bit is that whatever FPL points you get during a game week, they're not final until, you know, the fat lady sinks at the end of the game week, you know. But I don't care, as long as the right result is, you know, granted. Kind of like VAR in a way. You know, putting that extra level may frustrate some people, but the idea is to hopefully get a more balanced result each time.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan.
Shout out Susan Boyle.
Shout out Susan Boyle. She does like to sing.
She's fat.
All right. Well, I mean, come on.
She sung. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Right. Continue on. But yeah, you want to talk about the undercurrent behind this. Should we just call it what it is? The cartel.
The FPL cartel.
The FPL cartel.
There's
tell people what it is first of all.
Right. Well, so there is a conspiracy theory on Twitter, and it is very much a conspiracy theory, that because there was a number of select content creator FPL managers, and I won't even say high profile FPL managers who made the move of Saka to Son relatively late towards the deadline. And obviously after that, we also discovered that Saka wasn't going to play. There's murmurings. Maybe there's, an environment that they communicate and share intel.
And there might have been some under the table kind of information going around that wasn't given to the wider audience.
Exactly. And, I think that's crazy.
By the way, it's just a fantasy football game we're talking about here, and we're making up conspiracy theories about cartels on a free, nerdy fantasy football game.
Oh,
are we okay?
Look, we all know that the people who have high platform, like you have a big platform, right?
Yeah.
You get people sending you team news.
Sometimes I get team news and I'll share it, yeah.
Exactly. And other content creators get the same thing. But this one, I don't believe anyone got team news.
Do you not?
I genuinely don't think anyone got team news. And I'm very good friends with a few of the people who are on this list.
Oh, the list of potential cartel members.
And I feel like they would have admitted it. Had that, because they've admitted in past when something has possibly happened.
That's true, because but that's kind of the point, that these people have been guilty of this kind of thing in the past.
Again, I'm not gonna say guilty, right? Because if you stream, right, and you're live, and if you got someone DM you on your stream 5 minutes before deadline saying Saka is benched, and it's someone that you know and trust, then you'll announce it on stream and act on it.
I will tell people, immediately.
And that's basically what happened for other people who are sort of guilty of this or being accused of this. Guilty is not the word I'm trying to go for. Like, there's plenty of people who had announced that they're thinking of this move. Everyone was waiting for Saka news. Nobody got it except for Boona. And from there, like, people just acted on what they wanted to do. The reason I didn't make the transfer is because I was planning on getting Palmer this week. So, like, and I don't know what if you were thinking about it. Like, the move made sense outside of any kind of leak. So I think it's ridiculous, but also, like, I get why people can feel bitter. Because, you know, some people just have hatred in their heart.
They do. But it also should be said that there was a leak. There was some people who came out after, not necessarily within FPL, who had the leak that Saka was not going to be playing.
Fair enough.
So there is a chance that fed into certain FPL content creators. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I think it's been blown out of proportion, to be honest. I think you probably agree. The fact that there's an Athletic article about it.
That's crazy, innit?
About this FPL conspiracy theory.
They used the words FPL cartel in the article.
Cartel in
the article.
Fantasy football, guys. Some people need to get a life,
bizarre,
honestly.
Bizarre. And you know what? Listen, if there's an FPL cartel,
why aren't I in it?
invite us.
Yeah, get me involved, man. I want to be in the cartel. How cool would that be? That'd be very cool. All right, let's move on from that, because we've got so much to go through today. Honestly, it's a crazy show. And we need to address the other elephant in the room.
Okay. Ooh, how many elephants are there?
We're
on our third elephant.
Mate, there's a stampede of elephants coming along right now. I tell you what. Oh, London Zoo's missing a few. Right. Cole Palmer. Don't laugh. Why are you laughing?
I'm glad you called this an elephant in the room. Okay, talk to us. Go on. Do your thing.
So last week, a clip from this show went pretty viral on Twitter. Like, you know, we're talking hundreds of thousands of views. It might have even got to the millions in the end, of the clip of me saying that I didn't think Cole Palmer was a big game player. And the replies, particularly from Chelsea fans, I think I may have upset a few, because they were not happy with me. It got quite brutal, actually. Yeah. How can they just be letting anyone have podcasts these days? Blood doesn't know a ting. Well, I mean,
you know what? That's always the line, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you disagree with the podcast,
bro's waffling.
They let anyone run. put a ban on new podcasts or IQ test to start a new podcast. Come on, man.
But come on, let's be perfectly honest. If you watch the game, Cole Palmer was a little bit absent from that big game. And I think, in fairness, I understand why people were angry about me kind of calling out Palmer in that way, because I think I did phrase it pretty wrong. And I used a lot of, you know, FPL kind of terminology to try and explain it. So I'm going to try and defend myself a little bit more and just kind of try and offer some...
doubling down, okay.
Well, no, I'm doubling down 100%. Because, you know, I think there's some analysis here to be had, like, genuinely. And first of all, I need to say, I don't think Cole Palmer is a bad football player. I think he's a brilliant football player. But the qualities and attributes that he has and the team that he plays for doesn't suit big games in the same way as others. If you think about players like Haaland or Salah or Saka, big players playing for big teams capable of scoring goals against any team, these players will naturally have the opportunity to score more goals because their team will score more goals in these big games. You can think of players like Heung-min Son, an excellent player on the counter-attack. If he is playing against a big team and an opportunity to break happens, Son is going down the line, scoring goals. And that's why you see these players regularly and consistently, maybe not 2 goals a game or 3 goals a game sometimes, but maybe not a lot of goals per game in these huge fixtures. But they have the attributes and they play for teams that are capable of still performing against other big teams. Now, Chelsea are unfortunately just a step below your Arsenal, your Liverpool, your Man City right now. And, he's not a Son. Pace is not one of Palmer's strong suits. There's a lot of things that Palmer can do much better than Son, but speed and pace on the counter-attack is not one of those things. So we do, and we consistently see Cole Palmer struggle against the best of the best. Yes, he scored that goal in the Euros final. Yes, he scored a penalty against Arsenal, a penalty against Man City. But he's now played, I think it's, 8 games against the, let's say, big 3 in the Premier League. He's got 0 open play goal contributions. 0. Nothing. That doesn't mean he is incapable of producing moments occasionally, but he has not proven that he is a consistent big game player yet for me.
Okay, I strongly disagree with you.
The evidence is literally right there.
No,
you watched the game yesterday.
I think it's very easy to have that discussion now, having watched that fixture. I think there's a video that I saw on TikTok the other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of really highlights the thing that sometimes can happen with Cole Palmer in these games. Ozil was labelled as like lazy and sort of a luxury player when he played against the bigger oppositions, right? And the reality wasn't that was the case. The reality was that he just wasn't great in duels. You'd never see Ozil get into a scrap with a player, or like get into like a physical duel with the player when they're playing the top level opposition. And it's the same with Palmer, right? He's a young kid, right? He isn't sort of big in terms of his physique. And when he's up against like Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones, who were there to like fight, they're there to win battles, get the ball forward, play in that way. It can occasionally seem like that. But I've seen enough of Palmer in enough big games, and there's no way you can say that the only big game that a player plays in a season is against Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, because that's just not true.
Well, I think generally speaking, I think it is.
He's played in finals, he played in semi-finals, he's played in other big games.
Okay,
a fixture against Spurs, a fixture against United is not a big game for Chelsea.
You're talking about the occasion, and I've got no problem with saying Palmer can step up to an occasion.
Okay, so
I'm talking about the ability of the opposition.
Okay, so you're saying Palmer up against the best of the best doesn't smash in teams?
No.
There's no player who does.
Well, there is.
Tell me one.
Didier Drogba is probably the most famous for it.
He doesn't smash in teams, but he scores a goal.
Yeah, but Palmer doesn't do that.
Palmer has scored a goal against these bigger teams.
Penalties. 2 penalties in 8.
Okay. Has he played full 90 minutes in those games? Even if he has, you're talking 8 fixtures, very small sample size, right? And Spain, big opposition, scored against them.
Yeah, and he is capable of occasional moments in this big game, but his responsibilities change in the bigger games.
I would say, okay, so Erling Haaland, right? You've added him onto your list of players who would perform in big games.
Yeah.
Right? Erling Haaland does not, for me, perform in big games. Erling Haaland doesn't score in the later stages of any cup that he plays in.
Okay, but again, we're talking about occasions.
No, but you play the better opposition when you're in later stages in cups. You're playing against
often, yeah,
the Real Madrids and the Bayern Munichs and whoever else you catch on that run, right? Inter Milan, for example, in the final. But same thing happened in the FA Cup when he's playing up against United. I mean, he smashed in United in the Premier League, but when it comes to a final, he couldn't do it. But my point being that when you're playing the best opposition, regardless, the opportunities to score are reduced, right?
Yeah,
I think the only player you can actually say commonly does that is like active players, like a Son, for example. Because you're right, because the scenario suits a player who has pace.
And you can add Saka and Haaland.
You cannot add Saka. You cannot add Saka to that.
Saka consistently, and Salah as well, consistently.
Salah, arguably, yeah. You know what? Salah, yes. Not even arguably. Salah, yes. Yeah. I've seen Salah do in Man City so often that you can't say no.
And same with Son, to be fair.
Exactly. Like, them two just love Man City. Salah versus Cancelo is just absolutely cool. Just kills him constantly. But like, there's so many players who don't do that. And and every single player is less likely to do it in the tougher games. I just think saying he's not a big game player implies that it's more about the moment and sort of the pressure, which he I think deals with very well, as opposed to when he comes up against very, very, very high level opposition, he's less likely to score. So
yeah, and everyone is, but it seems that he is even less likely to score.
I disagree with that.
Compared to
who?
The other players that people talk about in the same conversations.
I don't think he's less likely to score or assist in a big game compared to Haaland, or I'm gonna stop saying big game.
Yeah,
a difficult game compared to Haaland.
Okay.
I don't think he's less likely to do that compared to Saka.
Okay.
I don't think he's less likely to do it compared to, I don't know, Vinny Jr., who also are like elite players. Okay, maybe Vinny Jr. is not fair actually, because that guy is ridiculous when it comes to big games. Who are other elite players? De Bruyne.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's less likely than any of those players. I think he's definitely up there in terms of his ability to create danger. But if we're talking, he's not scoring sort of multiple times, then yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but that's not really what I'm saying, to be honest. Like, I see like Salah and Haaland and Saka. These are players who, you can probably trust them to, score pretty regularly against the most teams, but not every time. Against the big teams, even in those, I see these players as kind of guys who can, they've still got a good chance of scoring in the big games, but not like an amazing chance. But Palmer, I think he drops off a lot more. That's all I'm saying.
I will die on this hill. Haaland is much worse.
Well, I'm looking at some Haaland stats right now. Against Arsenal in the Premier League, he's 3 goals, 2 assists in 5 games. That's 1 in 1.
There was that one game that he smashed them 4-1. And he assisted like 2 of them and scored 2 as well, I think.
It might be. Again, let's look at him against Liverpool.
He definitely hasn't got a good record against Liverpool. I don't think he's ever scored against Liverpool.
He's scored once in the Premier League in 3 Premier League appearances against Liverpool. Also once in the Champions League and once in the EFL Cup. So yeah, that's in 7 games. So yeah, it's under 50% return rate there, but I mean, still, again, it's I definitely agree. I'm being harsh on Palmer, and he hasn't had a chance, and he deserves a chance to prove me wrong. Absolutely, but right now I haven't seen it yet. And when we're talking from an FPL perspective, like some people like play FPL in different ways. Like I like to see something before I believe it. So it's difficult for me to say, yeah, Palmer's going to smash it against Liverpool until I see it. It's difficult for me to say in a couple of weeks that Palmer will smash it against Arsenal because I haven't seen it.
From an FPL perspective, you're never going to say about any player they're going to smash it against Liverpool or Arsenal.
No,
you're never going to say that.
But I trust Haaland, I trust Saka, I trust Salah, I trust Son.
Do you regularly captain Haalands and Salahs of the world against Arsenals and Liverpools and Cities?
Sometimes, not usually, but I'm happy to roll through that fixture.
Be serious. You can roll through it, but you're not going to captain them because you don't trust them, because you don't expect them to do amazingly.
Yeah, but you don't write them off in the same way as you might write off Palmer in one of these games. I think at a certain point we probably need to agree to disagree on this one, to be fair. But look, the
good thing is he's only got one of those in the next 5.
Yeah, no, 100%. And this is the thing. Palmer is an amazing flat track bully. Incredible. You see, you're laughing because you think this is a backhanded compliment.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Like, no, I'm not having it. Go on,
look,
carry on.
This is a positive. Palmer is an amazing FPL asset when the fixtures look a bit better. That is where he, in FPL terms specifically, if you're paying big money, you want to see big points. And when you're going to get those big points is now. You have, and particularly in a season like this, you have to be a little bit selective. We can't just be owning everyone. They're expensive. Okay. So you do, please, I'm just speaking in FPL terms here. Now is a better time to buy Palmer than last week was.
Oh, of course. Yeah,
in game week
I'm not
12,
going to disagree with that.
In game week 12 is an even better time. Well, not necessarily even better, but it's also a really good time to buy Palmer. And I think because there are so many expensive players, you do have to be choosy as to when you go for a player and when you don't. But anyway, Palmer, buying him this week?
I am extremely, extremely likely to. Yeah? I'm definitely going to.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Of course you are. Because he's brilliant up against these defenses.
Because he's got that Liverpool fixture out the way. I'm glad about that.
Yeah.
A lot of people owned him for that blank. I get to own him for his hauls in the future. I missed out on a few so far this season. Don't get me wrong, but no. Honestly, he is a player that strikes fear into you if you don't have him in FPL, though, isn't he?
But even watching him against Arsenal, against Liverpool, he had a couple of opportunities.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. And that, honestly, the fear of God entered me because I knew I had to come on this podcast today and speak. If he scored against Liverpool. By the way, I have double Liverpool defence in my FPL team as well.
Well, to be fair, they never could clean sheet.
No, I know, but that was, it was an anxious watch. Let me tell you that one. But no, brilliant pick from 12. Good pick from 9, I'd say.
I'll probably agree.
I don't think he's a must-buy. I think we're probably going to speak about Saka a little bit, but maybe we save that to when we talk about our teams.
Yeah, because that's a tricky conversation.
Because we both have Saka. We're both considering moving to Palmer, aren't we?
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. All right, let's move on. Still a lot to talk about because we kind of just mentioned there about being choosy with your premiums. So I made this little graphic for us. And if you're an audio who listens, then too bad. You can't see the graphic, but we'll talk you through it anyway. And it basically shows all of the premium players, premium-ish players. Haaland, Salah, Palmer, Saka, Son. I've put Watkins on here as well. He's pretty expensive. And I've kind of blocked out when they have a good run of fixtures. So not good individual fixtures, but good blocks of fixtures. So Haaland, we've got 9 through 11. So Haaland plays Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton in the next 3 game weeks. That's a good block of fixtures. After that, a little bit stinkier. Salah, his block is after Arsenal in 9, really. So game week 10, 11, 12. Nice block for Salah. And Palmer's good block begins in 12 and goes on and on and on. Saka's next good block of fixtures starts in game week 13. We've got nothing really until then. Son's got a great next 3 in 9, 10, and 11. And Watkins, his good fixtures really are between 12 and 15. So you can't have them all. 3 is probably the most you can get. Maybe you can get 4, but enjoy your Wout Fass and Jan Bednarek starting. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense to keep Haaland for now. If you have him, we'll save that one because I've got another. We've got so much to go through today, honestly, man. Salah, if you've still got him, worth keeping until game week 12, I would say. Palmer, you could jump on now, but you absolutely have to jump on by 12. Saka, I'd like to have him back in the team by game week 13 as well. Son,
by game week 12, don't take out Forest.
Well, no, I'm not including Forest. You know, I twerk for Forest and their defence. I don't think Saka is a must-own for Forest, but you could do. You could do in 12. I get it. Son is great in the short term, but after that, probably would prefer some of the other guys.
I mean, arguably, the run from 13 to 16 is also good.
Yeah, but you've kind of got like Bournemouth, Chelsea, Liverpool in there, Fulham as well. Like, these are not fixtures. These are kind of the best fixtures there are mid-table teams, really. Outside of Southampton in 16 for Son.
Yeah.
Your best fixtures are mid-table. So
yeah, fair enough.
It's not perfect. Yeah. Watkins, I don't know. I don't know if he'll get much love.
You got Salah's good runners, Brighton, Villa, and Southampton.
Yes. Yeah.
That's 2 top 6 teams.
Yeah, I kind of based that on Brighton being a bit stinky recently, but to be fair, they did concede chances against Newcastle, even though they kept a clean sheet. So I don't know. There's still maybe some opportunities there. In general, to be fair, Salah's fixtures are probably the worst of all of these players.
Yeah. This is really frustrating for me, and the more I try to work out how to manage this, the less I think you need Haaland anymore. Because in an ideal world now, Haaland wouldn't be playing Southampton and I would sell him.
Yeah.
And I would have Salah, Palmer, Son, Watkins. Because you could afford 4 of them.
If you sell Haaland, you could do 4, yeah.
But you can't sell Haaland before Southampton.
Nope.
You probably can't sell him before Bournemouth and Brighton. And that means you got to pick essentially 2 of everyone else.
Yeah, which is really tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's very tough, and it's just going to get tougher as the weeks go on because these guys' fixtures just get better and better. I mean, Palmer and Saka are both going to be sort of going goal for goal from game week 12.
Yeah, I think Palmer will do better for Saka than Saka in that run.
But Saka's going to do well.
But Saka's also going to do well, yeah.
Exactly. Like, you're going to lose points, right? So, and then what about Watkins? What about Son? Son is, we're talking about how Son performs against these trickier oppositions. I don't think Man City, Fulham, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Southampton, Liverpool is a bad run of fixtures for him.
It depends because some of these defences are tough because of the play style, and some are tough because of the team that they are. So I don't know. I guess like Fulham and Bournemouth are a little more compact. Well, maybe not Bournemouth as much, but Fulham are more compact, and that's why they're tougher to play against. Whereas Man City are tough to play against because they're just a brilliant team.
But they'll definitely concede, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Will they? Maybe.
They've kept one clean sheet this season.
Yeah, but I've always looked pretty good. Yeah, they look good, Fulham.
No, Man City, I said.
Oh, Man City. Oh, yeah, but Man City, again, they concede like 1 or 2 chances per game. But to be fair, it's going to be Son who puts that 1 or 2 chance away, isn't it?
Like, if Son got the chances that Traore got when they were playing Fulham, I don't know.
But if you keep Son for Man City, that means you're probably going to lose out on one of Palmer or Saka.
Well, that's the problem, innit? That's the problem. And you're just going to pick Leicester and Forest over City. Like, there's just no way you're going to do it. But in that same week, Salah's also playing Southampton.
Yeah.
So it's
so hard, man.
Yeah, you just have to pick your poison. And I've currently got my wild card. You got your wild card as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm strongly considering it for this week, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on. But even if you were to use it in game week 12, if you were to wild card in game week 12, you can't buy Haaland.
No. Well, you can include Haaland on a game week 12 wild card, but you limit your ability to spend on these other players a little bit.
I think it'd be crazy.
Well, I mean, who else are you going for? You can do a Haaland, Palmer, and Saka team quite feasibly. I've actually made one. Do you want to see it?
No, but Haaland, Palmer, and Saka isn't difficult. Like, I can do that with transfers.
Yeah, me too.
But on a wild card, you'd want Salah, Saka, Palmer, and Watkins.
But do you want Salah on the wild card?
Yeah. In that run from game week 12, he plays Southampton, Man City, Newcastle, Everton, Fulham. Like, that's a brilliant run.
Is it?
Man City, like, he tends to do well against them.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely capable of a goal there.
But even if he's not, Southampton, that's a captaincy opportunity.
Yeah.
When the only other captain option is Palmer against Leicester.
So you're saying like a Salah, Palmer, Saka midfield?
Salah, Palmer, Saka, Watkins up front. Game of 12.
That is strong, to be fair.
Yeah, man.
That is very strong.
Like, even if Haaland, like, no one's gonna say Haaland's gonna stop scoring. Like, he has stopped scoring, but like, he's not gonna not score again. He's gonna score goals in those fixtures. But Tottenham, Liverpool, your lovely Forest, and then from game 15, you can figure it out again. But 3 game weeks, I think it's worth that discussion.
I like it. I don't mind it, to be fair. I mean, or game week 13 wild card potentially, if you wanted to.
But then
have Salah for the short term and then move him off in game week 13, maybe.
But then you'd have to buy Salah between now and game week 12. Yeah,
but some people will have Salah right now.
If you have Salah, then you're up in it. So yeah, it's tricky.
And it's going to be different for everyone. That's the other thing. Like, everyone's going to have to find their own path a little bit with this one.
Yeah.
But I did mock up a rough freemium structure. By the way, guys, get used to the word freemium. You're going to hear it a lot now. 3 premium players.
Shout out who got the assist.
Freemium. So yeah, this is, I think, like, and this is very rough, by the way, but it's just an idea of structure rather than exact players. So this is the kind of structure you might want to go for with 3 premium players. So we've got a 4.5 million goalkeeper in goal, Verbruggen, and then a defense of Gvardiol, Konate, and Ait Nouri, with Mikolenko on the bench. So yeah, a little bit cheaper in defence, only 1 premium player. Well, if you count Gvardiol as that, you could substitute him for like a Gabriel if you prefer, if you've got the money, Trent. Maybe even upgrade Konate to a 6 million as well, potentially. Depends on your budget. And then in midfield, you go for someone like Palmer, Saka, and Burmo, and then pick a 5.5 to 6.5 midfielder. I put Garnacho in this team, but it really, again, it could be whoever you like. Do you like Semenyo? Do you like Smith Rowe? Whatever. Up front, Haaland, and then 2 cheap forwards.
Yeah.
I think this would be a big way to do it. If you did want to have Haaland, then going for like a Wood and a Raul Jimenez, something like that. There's so many cheap forwards. We're going to go through them as well, by the way. And then on the bench, it's pretty cheap. We've got Rodgers on there, obviously, but then Mikolenko, Van de Ven, and a 4 million goalkeeper. So something like that. I don't think we need to spend too much time on this one, to be honest. But thoughts on that structure, roughly?
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. I'll probably go Son over Saka, but yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but right now, you probably go for Son over Saka.
Yeah.
But maybe game week 12, 13 onwards might look at something a little bit more like this. Maybe. But just, yeah, structurally. So let's let's do Arsenal fixtures and then we'll talk about those cheap forwards. So a lot of people talking about selling Arsenal players, but also Arsenal defenders more specifically.
Yeah,
this week
it's tricky at the moment. No Saliba obviously up against Liverpool, and Liverpool are just going to score, aren't they? And then Newcastle and Chelsea after that. This is what's kind of. This is like part of the reason why I'm sort of getting tempted to wildcard this week, because I've got double Arsenal defense. I've got Saka. I've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Like, I've got Solanke. Like, it's. I would understand wanting to sell. Like, coming off double Arsenal defense now probably is a good shout. Particularly with the fixtures that, for example, someone like Gvardiol has, and the goal threat that he's showing at the moment, and again, another brilliant finish. So, I don't know. Is it reactionary? People hopped on to Gabriel after he scored his 2 goals in his tricky fixtures.
True.
And then now you're going to hop off? Like, I don't know. I don't feel right selling Gabriel, but Raya could possibly go. But then, am I going to do that with a free transfer?
Goalkeeper transfer.
Yeah. The only way he'd go would be a wild card for me. And again, maybe not Liverpool because Saliba's going to be suspended, but he'll be back for Newcastle. And
maybe it looks better by then.
Newcastle, Chelsea, clean sheets. Would we be that stunned?
We wouldn't be shocked if it happened, but we would definitely not be expecting it necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, Newcastle maybe, but Chelsea probably no.
No. But here's the thing. We spoke about this a couple of pods ago. Arsenal defensively are not like last season, they were miles above everyone else. This season, they're still in the top areas, but let's have a look for non-penalty expected goals against. Liverpool, Villa, Forest, Chelsea, Man City are all above Arsenal. So Arsenal are currently tracking around the same as Spurs and Bournemouth.
Yeah, they've just got better shot stopper, innit?
Well, yeah. It seemed that way for the first few games, but like that's kind of what we were saying. Like when we were speaking about Arsenal defensively, it was Raya bailing them out. It wasn't because they were tight defensively and weren't conceding chances. They were.
Yeah.
It's just Raya was making a lot of saves.
Yeah, but they've also played 3 of their 8 games with 10 men.
True, and they have had some tough fixtures in there as well.
Yeah, so like.
But this is the excuse we made last time. That's what happened in the last 3.
The last 3 has been shocking.
Yeah.
Like to not keep a clean sheet against what was it, Leicester, Southampton, and then Bournemouth is very bad. 5
goals conceded in that run for Arsenal.
But you at a certain point, I think you have to kind of trust the defense, and if you don't, like, then just leave. But I don't know, man. Like to sell Gabriel and Raya now just to buy them back in game week 12, 13 just seems a little bit counterintuitive, particularly if you don't have a wild card.
And particularly as there's not that many defenders.
Yeah, where are you going to go?
Well, the only the two main defenders I'd be looking at would be Gvardiol, if you don't have him already, and Ryan Aït-Nouri.
Yeah.
Now that Man City's out of the way for him.
And you're not buying a good defense, right? For either of them.
But the fixtures are better. Their goal threat is maybe better. Maybe, even that. I don't know if that's true with someone like Gabriel, because he has a goal threat from the set pieces.
He's probably, I don't know what data says there, but I don't think he's got more goal threat than either of them.
Let's have a look. Can have a look here.
Because that would be interesting, because Aït-Nouri is very attacking and Gvardiol just is a machine.
So let's go XG per start. Hide low minutes players, all on the Fantasy Football Hub Opta Stats tool, by the way, guys. Shout out. Gabriel is third for XG
Who's
per
second and
start.
first?
Delict, number 1. He's been pretty good for goal threat. And number 2 is Milenkovic, but that is heavily boosted by an open goal he missed in Game Week 2, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing about early season, right? The data's very skewed.
Yeah,
it's
it's
weird
difficult
at the moment. I don't know. I guess I would understand wanting to come off 2 Arsenal defenders, but if I had just one, I'd probably just leave it.
I agree. Yeah, I think you're fine to roll through with 1.
Yeah.
But even with 2, it's like any transfer you make, is it really going to make that much of a difference?
Yeah.
It's a low priority, right?
Yeah. I mean, I could... you wouldn't be stunned at Gvardiol smashing Gabriel's points over the next 4. I guess that's the only thing that people would be concerned about.
Yeah, but that would rely on Gvardiol scoring goals because Man City. I don't think you trust Man City for clean sheets any more than you do Arsenal. Really?
Yeah. But it's you're guessing at this point. I think I would say I've got Gabriel. I'm not. The only way I would go Gabriel to Gvardiol would be on wildcard for me.
I think that's completely fair.
Yeah,
I agree. Right, moving on. Let's look at some forwards. Everyone's looking for new forwards, whether you got Calvert-Lewin or Solanke or whoever else is stinking up the gaff in your.
Don't forget Haaland.
Oh, yeah, okay, sure. Haaland as well.
Stinking up the teams.
But okay, so what I've got is the Fantasy Football Hub highest predicted points over the next 4 game weeks among the cheap forward position. And I think the cheap forward position is the way to go. There's a lot of value for money here, and going for cheaper forwards just allows you to splash that cash in the midfield. And going for the premium, reliable players in midfield is more important than ever. So got to cut some corners somewhere. And it feels like these players aren't even cutting corners. They're performing the same as 8-9 million players.
Yeah.
So we've got at the top Chris Wood, highest predicted points here. Very nice. They've got some good fixtures coming up. Have Forest. So Leicester away, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, Arsenal away. Depends how we feel about Arsenal. But then Ipswich at home after that as well. So the next run of 5, maybe if you can bench him for Arsenal away in 12, that's a really nice run.
Rodgers. Actually, no, Rodgers is a bad fixture in 12, didn't he?
Rodgers plays against Crystal Palace at home in 12.
Oh, when's his bad fixture?
11.
Ah, nice.
So, yeah, Rodgers, by the way, also works really well as rotation with the number 2 on this list, who is Raul Jimenez. That's a really good rotation. So Raul Jimenez is number 2 on our list here with second highest predicted points. He plays against Everton away next, which I don't know if I love. I think Everton have stepped up a little bit defensively. But after that, Brentford at home, I think, is a really nice fixture at the moment.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace away, Wolves at home, Spurs away, and Brighton at home in 14. So, decent run. And by the way, Wood, penalty taker, Raul Jimenez...
Possibly penalty.
Possibly, because Andreas missed his penalty at the weekend.
Yeah.
In pretty horrific. It was a bad penalty, man.
I didn't see it.
It was a bad penalty, man.
Yeah. I mean, Jimenez is another one who is very likely to come into my team this week. Just because of how Mr. Calvert-Lewin has been performing over the last 4. But yeah, he's on fire, and we know how good he used to be when he was at Wolves before his big injury. Like, I really like it, and if he somehow picks up penalties as well, that'd be brilliant.
Agreed.
That'd be really good.
He just looks so confident at the moment.
Yeah.
And that is what we kind of criticised him for maybe over the last couple of years. You know he had the ability, but he just, since it was his head injury, right, he's just kind of dropped down a level, seemingly from a mental point of view. He wasn't going in for the same things. He wasn't taking the shots that he might have taken before. He wasn't hitting things with the same conviction. He just looked off it. But now that's completely gone. He's back to his old self, which is amazing. And long may it continue. If he's on penalties as well, what a pick. 5.7 million.
He's gone up 0.1, which has stopped me from doing the exact moves I want. But I may have a solution.
All right, well, let's whiz through some of these other players. We've got Cunha, 6.5, a little bit more expensive, but again, a penalty taker. He does play a little bit deeper.
Lawson.
We'll get to him, don't you worry. Don't you worry. So yeah, Cunha, he doesn't put up the best numbers of of these guys, but he's a penalty taker. The fixtures are there for Wolves as well. We've got Wissa, who got 20-something minutes off the bench in game week 8, so he's back.
Awful pick.
His numbers were brilliant earlier on in the season.
I'm joking. I've just seen a later slide. Let's continue.
So yeah, Wissa number 4. Number 5 is Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
Don't buy him.
Nope. Okay, let's move on to the next page because we've got a second page. Vardy is there in what number are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 6 is Vardy. Yeah, again, I think similar to Calvert-Lewin, that's mostly due to the fixture in game week 10. Both of them have brilliant fixtures in 10. One plays Southampton, the other plays Ipswich.
You can
Can't remember
also
which one's
argue
which.
that they are the brilliant fixture.
Yeah, 100%. But for attackers, that doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true.
Strand Larson, great form, poor numbers. But great form and 5.5 million.
Yeah.
And great fixtures too.
Yeah. I kind of like him. I thought he took his goal really well at the weekend.
I agree.
But yeah, I guess if his numbers aren't great, then it is what it is.
They're not. But he's in good form, and players in good form will outperform their numbers, maybe in the short term. Or unless he's just a really brilliant finisher. But he's kind of doubling his expected output at the moment, which I don't know if it is sustainable.
He's a big lad though, man. I feel like big number 9's that's back, you know?
Maybe.
Like, yeah.
Also, his numbers will improve when the fixtures get drastically better.
Of course.
So you can say he has poor numbers, but those poor numbers might not be the same going forward. Evan Nilsson, probably not going to look at him too much in the immediate term.
Yeah.
But the fixtures look good from 12.
He just costs more than Jimenez. That's his problem.
Jimenez light.
Yeah, he costs 0.2 more than him. Yeah. If I was going to go for a Bournemouth attacker, it would be Semenyo at the moment, who's also very cheap.
Looked good again this weekend.
He did,
despite not returning.
Yeah. So I don't know. Is Evan Nilsson on penalties?
Well, Clivert took the last one. Evan Nilsson missed a penalty this season.
Has he?
Okay.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
It's not for me.
Delap, I think, was the hype player for all of about one game week. We'll come back to Delap. And Nketiah's on there as well. I don't think we need to take some of those later picks too seriously, but certainly Strand Larson is an interesting pick at 5.5. But the main ones are here right now. I think if you're to press me for top 5 cheap forwards to bring into your team this week, it would be Wood would be number 1 for me this game week because of that fixture against Leicester. Great hopping on point. Raul Jimenez would be 2nd. Wissa would be 3rd, only because of the risk. He plays with Ipswich this week, so amazing opportunity, but he's not guaranteed a start as he has only just come back from injury. And then after that, maybe you add in Cunha's and Larson's after that, and I probably wouldn't go too much further than that. Who's your favourite of these guys?
My top 5 would be Jimenez number 1, Wood number 2.
Okay, same top 2 then.
Yeah. From a price perspective, Larson number 3, Cunha number 4, and then Wissa number 5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same 2 top 5s then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, can't go wrong, guys. Right. What else have we got for us today? Oh, yes. We need to talk about differentials of the week. Oh, it's one of my favourite times of the week where me and Sim get to have a competition of who can pick out the best premiums of the season. And each week we add our differential players' scores to the leaderboard to see who is the better differential picker. In game week 8, for Sim's under 5% selected player that he thought was going to do really well in game week 8 was Delap. And the thing is, I don't think you were alone on this one. And I think a lot of people, when they watched the game week 8 episode, would have said, yeah, Sim, I reckon Sim's going to beat Dan this week. He's a changed man. But the reality is that you are cursed.
Genuinely cursed.
And you have this, well, to be fair, 2 points is good for you. That's actually your highest score.
I think this is like the second time I've got 2 points.
This is your highest score of the season with a 2-pointer. So fair play. And for the season, in 8 game weeks, you've finally reached double figures. 10 points total for your 8 differentials.
Well, good thing it's a long season and there's still 31 more game weeks to go.
Yeah, but it's getting slightly smaller every week.
Don't worry, that's what she said. But we'll be all right. We will be all right.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, my pick was Buonanotte last season.
Just why do you keep saying last season?
Well, last game week.
When he scored, and the worst part was I forgot who your differential was, and then I saw the goal notification. I was like, "Oh my god, it was him!" I texted you the second before he scored.
You text me saying, "Who's your differential again?" And then he scores immediately. Amazing stuff.
Genuinely, this is just comical now.
That's like part of me says we probably need to just remove this section of the podcast.
Why would we remove it? This is brilliant, but variance is killing me. I'll be back. We should calculate the expected points of all of our differentials and see what the gap is then.
Okay, all right, fine.
But remove your own Burmo pick.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to this week's. Let's start off with yours. Which player you cursed the lap owners last game week? Who have you cursed this game week? Who is guaranteed to blank in game week 9?
So this player is Marcus Rashford, 3.2% owned, playing. I'm sorry, West Ham fans, but the worst defense in the league.
Not great.
Maybe the numbers even agree with me.
Shall I have a look?
But they are not looking good, and they really folded. They really folded against Spurs, which was sad to see because West Ham can be very good. But regardless, Marcus Rashford. You know what? Is Mr. Garnacho under 5%?
I think you could have had Garnacho.
Because if I can have Garnacho, I'm gonna switch.
No, you can't switch. I've made the graphic. You.
That's okay.
No, it's not okay.
That's okay.
No, he's 7.9 selected.
Okay, so I can't switch. Otherwise, I probably would have gone for Garnacho in it. But no, Marcus Rashford. He started to have a little bit of form, and then Ten Hag kind of like started doing silly things. I expect him and Garnacho to start against West Ham. I might buy his colleague, but I'm gonna get Mr. Rashford for my differential.
Okay, well, good luck.
Thank you.
You need it. Right, my differential of the week. I've taken a bit of risk here, actually. Johan Wissa. We already mentioned him today.
Yeah, it's not a risk.
1.9 selected, not guaranteed a start, but I just feel like if Wissa starts against Ipswich at home, that's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. He could be a great pick. I don't know if I have the cojones to buy him this week. Yeah. But credit to anyone who does, and I will be genuinely wishing you well.
Why is that so risky? He's got minutes on his belt.
What, like 20-something minutes?
That's what you'd expect someone to get.
Yeah.
If it was 10 minutes, then fair enough. But 25 to 30 minutes is a sign of this person can play 60.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to give him 25 to 30. He's going to have a week off. They lost against United. So I think they need the win at the moment. And I think he starts.
I think he probably does as well, which is why I picked him. So I'm not saying I don't think he's going to start. But no, there is that kind of, I'd probably say 20-25% chance that he doesn't.
Yeah.
And he's maybe given one more week of limited minutes. Or he comes off at half time or 50 minutes or something like that.
Well, I hope he doesn't start.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, I guess Marcus Rashford might not start either.
Yeah, that's true.
So those are our differentials of the week. Let's do our teams to round off. Actually, we've got some questions at the end of it. Okay, let's talk about some FPL teams. This is my team for this week before transfer. So we've got Henderson. Well, actually, first of all, last game week. Disaster for most people. I actually did okay. So we're recording before Crystal Palace Forest. So I've still got Henderson to play technically, but I'm sitting on 38 points.
How have you got
38 points. So Gvardiol, obviously, with his goal.
38 points?
Gvardiol goal, Rogers goal, Vardy goal.
Vardy scored?
Yeah, he scored a penalty.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, I'm on the 37 points, I think I'm on. But yeah, pretty good. Well, I say pretty good. It's pretty average in real terms, but
yeah, but you're on a green arrow.
Compared to most people, I think it's actually not that bad.
That's very good.
So it survived the disaster rather than accomplished anything really. But yeah, I'm happy. My rank is, floating towards 1 million now, which could be worse at this stage of the season. Could be a lot better, obviously, but yeah, it could be worse. But yeah, this week I got Henderson in goal again, Gvardiol, Trent and Robertson in defence. So got double Liverpool defence against Arsenal. But I have to say, after this weekend, I don't feel as bad about that one. as maybe I did before. We've got Saka and Burmo, Rodgers and Brennan Johnson in the midfield. And up front, Haaland, Havertz and Jamie Vardy himself. Currently got Smith Rowe on the bench. I don't know if he's guaranteed to stay there, though. He plays against Everton away. And the rest of my bench is duds. So what I'm thinking for transfers, I've got 2 free transfers, 1.1 in the bank. Saka to Palmer, I think makes sense, particularly as Saka didn't train today. So I don't think he's going to be playing in the Champions League.
Get that from the FPL cartel.
Yes, I did. Yeah, we've got spies in every training camp these days in the cartel. But yeah, Saka didn't train. So if he's out for Shakhtar, then you have to have some concerns about the weekend too, right?
Yeah. The press is today, no?
Don't know.
Should be today.
Haven't seen it.
You play tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's where I found the information. Can't remember. Saw it on Twitter, to be honest, from a trustworthy account. But yeah, so if Saka is kind of a little bit dodgy, I think Palmer makes a lot of sense. And if I go for Palmer now, it basically means I don't need to wildcard in 12 anymore because a lot of my wildcard plans revolve around buying Palmer. So I would buy Palmer now. My second transfer, I can either remove Havertz against Liverpool or Vardy against Forest.
Not Robertson.
I could also remove Robertson, but I don't think I need to. Like, again, we're going back to, yes, you can make a defender transfer, but like anything you bring in is not going to be that much better than what you have.
Yeah, but if
I have Gvardiol, so I can't make that move. It's Ait-Nouri or nobody.
It'd be Ait-Nouri just to pull the money out of the position because
I don't need to pull the money out. I've got money in the bank. I've got Havertz I can downgrade. Any forward I go for is going to be cheap anyway.
Yeah.
I don't need the money right now.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, it will be one of Havertz or Vardy out for, I think, Chris Wood, to be honest.
Okay.
And then after that, we'll do the other one to probably Raul Jimenez next week, potentially. Ait-Nouri will come in for Robertson by game week 11. And by that point, I'll be able to re-upgrade Brennan Johnson back up to Saka. So, a plan to do what we spoke about earlier and have those 3 premium players in your team. So, I worked out how to get the money out of certain areas and how to get it back in, which is nice. And if I do that, I don't need a wild card. And we can save it for... I have no idea when I'm going to use my wild card, man.
Christmas
Day. Tuck it into my Christmas dinner and tinkering with a wild card and speaking to none of my family members. Sounds good to me. That sounds like I'm throwing shade at my family. That's my family. None of them watch this podcast, so I think I'm good. But anyway, yeah. So that's my rough plan. Saka to Palmer, one of Havertz and Vardy out for Wood, and I'll probably wait for the goal scoring odds to come out before making that decision and just remove who has the worst odds, because sometimes you just need some kind of objective external source to make decisions for you. And if it goes wrong, you don't have to feel bad about it because the odds said you were right.
Fair enough. I'd be a little bit uncomfortable about benching Smith Rowe, but you don't really have much choice, unfortunately.
Well, I could just not make a forward transfer and then just bench one of Havertz or Vardy, or bench the other one, to be fair. Sell one, bench the other. That's definitely an option. But I got to play Rodgers, man, right now.
No, he's on fire, isn't he?
Yeah. There's no way I bench him anymore.
I kind of got away with him this week.
Oh, me too. I benched him and he got auto sub for Saka. You too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some people got like some terrible points off the bench and we managed to get Rodgers.
That's why you have a good bench.
I agree. Yeah.
And to be fair, I would probably have sold Saka if I didn't have Rodgers on the bench.
Me too.
Yeah.
I was saying in my videos and stuff last week, like people were saying, "Oh, should I sell Saka?" And I was kind of like, if you have bench cover, then I think you're fine to stick with him. If you don't, maybe there's some concern there. So, fortunate position to be in. For us.
Well, you look like you're in a good position. You're on a charge. You're climbing up the ranks. Finally outside the 2 millions.
We're going up. No wild card. Outscoring people who have wild carded.
What about
nice?
What about triple captain?
No.
You're not tempted? Southampton?
You know what? We didn't even speak about this today.
No.
We were meant to speak about Haaland. We haven't really had time, to be honest. We are we're over an hour already, pretty much. So,
Mm.
yeah, Haaland triple captain. Would you do it if you had your triple captain? No, me neither. And I do have it. I'm not happy enough with City right now, really. When De Bruyne comes back, I do think that will improve Haaland. Don't get me wrong.
Mm.
But again, I want to see a little run. I want to see a little bit of form going into the fixture.
It's weird to say, right? But I think Rodri being out is having a weird impact on them on top of the De Bruyne thing, because even though Rodri's been out all season, right?
Yeah.
So it's just they're just not sustaining attacks in the same way.
Honestly, I think it's De Bruyne. I was looking at the time. Well, both of Haaland's hat tricks were when De Bruyne played close to 90 minutes in one of those games.
Yeah.
So there is some overlap there.
Yeah.
Even if De Bruyne isn't directly making the assist, the influence he provides, the players that he occupies on the pitch, I think it helps. But yeah, I'm not feeling the Haaland triple captain. I think I'll save that for a double game week at this point now.
If you're not feeling the Haaland triple captain, would you be tempted? That means you don't think Haaland's gonna haul.
Well, no, I think there's a chance, but I don't have enough faith that he will. I don't think I'm going to get a hat trick out of this one. I think a brace is realistic.
That would be a decent haul for it. Okay,
yeah, but I think I could do better on a double game week.
Would you be tempted in the Mbeumo captain?
I would, yeah. Genuinely, I would. Be tempted, but that it would end as far as that. When Haaland plays the worst defence in the Premier League, or the worst team in the Premier League, best goal scorer in the Premier League, with De Bruyne hopefully playing.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of one of those no-brainers.
Yeah.
I don't want to overthink that one.
Yeah, probably agree with you.
Can burn you as well. But Mbeumo is more than capable of doing well this week as well, but maybe not as much. Right, let's do your team.
Right. Game week's not going well at all. Obviously, I am playing with Aina this week, so hopefully they keep a clean sheet. But if they don't, I think I'm on like 22 points or something just ridiculous like that.
That's pretty low.
I'm on a mean red arrow, and my team is just really just filling me with despair. And so much so that wildcard is really, really on my mind at the moment.
How many free transfers have you got, first of all?
I have 2. So here's my options, right? My plans, remember, from last week were to do my transfer on the Saturday. I decided against it because of the Saka issue. But I was going to do Calvert-Lewin down to Jimenez, Diogo Jota up to Cole Palmer, and Trent down to Ryan Nouri. I now can't afford that. What I can afford is Saka up to Palmer, Jota down to Garnacho, Calvert-Lewin up to Raul Jimenez.
Okay.
And again, I'd be benching one of Smith Rowe or Rodgers.
And who would that be, do you think? Smith Rowe?
I'd probably have to go Smith Rowe now.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to do that. But that would also leave me with double Arsenal defense against Liverpool, Trent against Arsenal, and Aina.
Yeah. Against Leicester. That's not. It's not perfect, but it's not.
It's not great, but it is what it is. So it's a tricky spot that I'm in at the moment, because I really don't like my front line. I really don't like my defense.
You don't like Solanke either anymore.
I don't like Solanke.
He looked like such a good pick last week, though.
I hate him now.
The problem is, when I was watching the West Ham game, is that when Spurs scored a lot of goals on the counter attack in that game. They had a lot of chances outside of counter attacks, but the goals were scored on the counter attacks. And Solanke was always just kind of. It was Son and Johnson that were pushing forward. Even like Kulusevski was kind of sometimes getting in the more dangerous areas than Solanke was. Yeah,
his positioning is just really not filling me with faith. He hasn't had more than one attacking return in a game this season. When he's scored, it's been well dodgy, if you ask me. I don't know, man. I feel like narratives can be spun. I don't want to sell Solanke, but I would love to replace him on wildcard. I just hate everyone in my goalkeeper and defense.
Yeah,
I dislike my team thoroughly, but I'm in a very emotional state at the moment. So
you could always sell them, and you spoke about wanting to have them back in from game week 12, so you could sell them and just wildcard them back in.
If I sold them, I'm already on a -4.
Okay, well you could wildcard and transfer them back in game week 12. If by using a wildcard allows you to save even more transfers over the next couple of weeks, you could have like a mini wildcard in 12.
Yeah. I guess the big problem is a Game Week 12 wildcard looks nothing like a Game Week 9 wildcard.
I don't think it's that dissimilar. Both would have Wolves players. I imagine both would have Palmer in. The only difference is Arsenal and Liverpool, right?
Arsenal and Chelsea and Liverpool.
No, you'd have Palmer.
But that's it. A Game Week 12 wildcard.
Yeah, what other
would
options
have
are
Jackson.
there? You wouldn't have Jackson anyway because of the cheap forwards that you'd most likely be going for.
I would probably have two Chelsea forwards, two Chelsea attackers in my Game Week 12 wildcard.
What? But you might struggle to get. Well, I guess it depends if you've got Haaland or not. But that's the other thing, isn't
The
it?
wildcard that I'm looking at now doesn't have Haaland in it.
Right. What 12 wildcards?
The Game Week 9 wildcard.
Really?
Yeah.
That's brave. Who are the premiums then?
Watkins, Salah, Palmer, and Son.
Okay. Yeah. Don't hate it.
But obviously no Haaland for Southampton.
That's scary, man.
Which is just
like we spoke a minute ago about triple captaining Haaland, and now we've gone from that to not owning Haaland.
Yeah. So that's why it's crazy. And on top of that, if I wildcarded this week, I would, because of the mental pressure of the Haaland fixture, I would have to have him, and I would not be happy with my team. So that's probably what's going to push me away from wildcarding.
Why don't you just do it next week then? If you just sell a couple of Arsenal or Liverpool players this week, and then you can wildcard Liverpool back in next week.
Yeah.
You get that Haaland fixture against Southampton, and then you maybe feel more comfortable next week going out without him.
Yeah. It's one to think about. But one thing's for sure, Cole Palmer's coming into my team.
Saka would be replaced, I guess.
Saka could stay in theory.
And you'd have to downgrade someone else in order to do that. Jota
and Trent would go out. Jota is almost guaranteed to go.
Yeah.
He had a rib injury though, so I'm not sure if he's like, even if, I was gonna sell Jota before the rib injury. So even if he's fit, like, he's gonna go. Trent's gonna go if I keep Saka.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Should we round off with some questions from the good people? We do ask for questions. We have done for the last couple of weeks, to be fair. So do make sure you're following on the social platforms. Stick to FPL on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok if you want to follow us on TikTok as well, and everything else.
We're brilliant on TikTok.
We do well on TikTok, to be fair. Pick out a couple of the best ones that we have
right here,
and hopefully ones that we haven't already covered today, because we have covered a lot today, and this podcast is longer than usual. Sorry, guys.
Shout out FPL Plug says, love to hear your thoughts on Solanke. We kind of have covered that. I don't like him, but what's your take on it?
I don't mind him. I don't think he is an automatic. If you are selling him, that is a luxury move.
Yeah.
Because you've got Ipswich in a couple of weeks, and I would like to ideally own him for that one. So I think he's probably a keep.
Yeah. Right. We ranked the forwards that were cheap. Rank 8 million and below midfielders, top 5.
Oh.
I'm going to go Mbeumo number 1.
Agreed. After that, it's so hard. Brennan Johnson?
I want to go for Brennan Johnson, but I can't say that and mean it when I'm actually buying Garnacho over him. So...
Oh, you can't put Garnacho above Brennan, can you?
I'm going to have to.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm going to have to, because otherwise I'd be buying Brennan Johnson instead of Garnacho. But I could still do it. But I'm gonna say Brennan Johnson and Garnacho are relatively equal. Maddison
and Kulusevski in there? No?
Yeah, they are.
Just all of the Spurs.
They are. There's a problem, isn't it? The top 5 is just Spurs midfielders.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna say Mbeumo, Garnacho, Maddison, Johnson, and then
McNeil.
Rodgers.
Oh, Rodgers. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think if we're taking price into consideration, it probably goes Mbeumo, Rodgers, and then Brennan Johnson, and I put Maddison in a similar kind of vein. Outside of that, honestly, I understand why people are asking this question, because it is tough out there. McNeil is definitely worth a shout as well, but I think we've probably covered all of the midfielders that are worth considering. It's difficult to order them outside of an Mbeumo, who is, I think, the clear top guy there. And I think Rodgers is really good value for money as well. Anything else?
Why aren't you a cartel member?
I don't know. I'm not allowed to sit with the cool kids, unfortunately. Yeah. That's me. Always pick last for teams.
That's unfortunate.
Mm.
Why is having Salah classing FPL players as non-engaged?
Okay, I understand this.
I'm totally engaged, just didn't agree with selling him 5 double-figure returns, 2 blanks, and a 6-pointer in 8 games. And currently most points in game and has been consistently one of the best in FPL for years.
Okay, so I know exactly what this is.
Yes.
So basically what happened is basically put out tweets saying, oh, who out there has Salah still? And a lot of people were like, yeah, me. And someone replied, said, or maybe someone said, I sold him. It doesn't seem like many people own him anymore. And I was like, yeah, it's crazy that among highly engaged managers, not that many people seem to own him. And that a bunch of people replied saying, well, I'm highly engaged and I own him. And it was kind of like, yeah, no, I know, that's fine. I'm not saying that no highly engaged FPL managers own Salah. I'm just saying that the typical template we see at the moment doesn't really involve Salah. And for what it's worth, I actually agree that Salah should be owned by more people. No, I said this in a few videos last week. People were saying, oh, should I sell Salah? And I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with Salah. Yes, there's lots of tempting options elsewhere, and there always is going to be this season because there's so many good premiums. But there's nothing wrong with Salah. You don't need to sell him. So I agree with the premise. There's nothing wrong with owning Salah. He's a great pick.
I have a question for you. And you're a very big content creator. How much influence do you think content creators have on decisions of the masses?
Well, those who follow content creators clearly do.
Everyone follows content creators.
Not everyone. There's a lot. I've got mates in mini leagues who don't. Everyone who do well and don't follow content creators.
I would say 90+% of people who are engaged FPL managers listen to at the very least one content creator.
I don't know the numbers, but okay, yeah, maybe.
I think that's fair.
Maybe, but yeah, I think there is a lot of influence there. But I think a lot of people maybe really appreciate that guidance because they're not able to watch much football or they don't have access to the stats and they just want someone to just summarize everything for them, which I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with whatsoever because we all have a limited amount of time we can commit to things.
Is that a reason why people don't own Salah?
Yeah. Okay. It is because you look through all of the big content creators and none of them, as far as I'm I'm not going to say nobody because I'll get shouted at again, but very few have Salah. And I think that's just incidental, to be honest. I think a lot of it was due to so many people wildcarding a couple of weeks ago, and that wildcard template maybe didn't include Salah. So yeah, I think there's a lot of influence there, but at the same time, I disagree that Salah should be low owned.
Yeah. I mean, we have to remember, right? Salah went through the same period that Haaland's going through now, and that's why he ended up getting mass sold.
It will just keep going like that. It will just keep swapping around.
Yeah,
and we'll have these periods where some players are more popular than others.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I think content creators definitely have an influence on the meta because of. Not because people are like blindly following content creators, because nobody's doing that. Well, okay, obviously people are doing that, but people aren't doing that on purpose. It's just there's content creators are a big voice, and those voices echo in the community. Yeah, and you hear the same opinion so often that it starts to become true, and suddenly you're making your decisions based on it.
Yeah, I don't think, but I think one problem I do have is people say content creators as if we're one uniform thing. Like I got a tweet today saying, like I think I tweeted out about Arsenal and not actually that good defensively, and someone replied to me, said, why did all of you content creators buy Arsenal defenders and tell us to buy Arsenal defenders? Mate, I haven't owned an Arsenal defender all season. I've got players like Gvardiol and Vardy, and I've had Brennan Johnson since last week. Just because I'm a content creator doesn't mean that I've got exactly the same players as other content creators. It's just not true.
But then you're doing the same thing as the person who replied to you about the Salah comment, right? When people say content creators in general, they're talking about the general. They're talking about the most common thing that's coming out.
Yeah, but why are you pointing your finger at me?
Well, in the same way that someone felt like they were pointed at when you said nobody has Salah who's like engaged.
That's true. Right? Yeah,
I'm a content creator, and most of the time, the stuff that the standard content creators are saying is not coming out of my mouth, right? But if if people are like saying content creators, somehow I would end up getting grouped into it. And it was like, oh, okay, so look, there's, I don't know, 56 content creators in this league. They've all done this, so they're all like this. Obviously, that's not the reality, but there's very clear points where it's like, okay, there's a general move or a general idea that's coming out from this group of people who are content creators.
Yeah, that definitely does happen.
Yeah.
If we're speaking generally, certainly.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I think, like, to be fair to both of us, I think neither of us are particularly template managers, and I think we're both, like, credit to us, we do try and think of things our own ways a little bit. I think we hopefully encourage other people to do the same thing, because I think, there's nothing worse than having your own gut feeling and ignoring that for something that someone else told you, and then it goes wrong, and you should have just stuck with your guts. There's no worse feeling than that.
Yeah.
Although it does give you a nice excuse if it does go wrong, you can blame someone. But there we go. All right, I think we should probably wrap things up on that note. But guys, we do appreciate you tuning into another episode of the Stick to FPL podcast. If you did enjoy today's episode, make sure you do drop a like, rate 5 stars. Do check out Fantasy Football Hub if you haven't done yet and you want to get that free trial. Of course, subscribe as well. Can we get some more subscribers? I want more. All right. Cool. Let's get to like 4,000 at least soon. We got way more viewers than that.
So close.
Yeah, we got many more viewers than 4,000.
93%, I think we're at now.
What, 93% people still not subscribed?
I did see quite a few of you followed like after the last episode, but there's still 93% of you guys who are watching and not subscribing.
Wow.
So let's get that sorted out.
Those are rookie numbers. All right, final words, Tim. You got anything for us this week? Have you actually have you prepared something for us this week?
I haven't prepared something.
Yeah.
But I've got a question for you. Why is it that if women menstruate, men don't womenstrate?
Oh, thank you everyone for listening to the Sticks FPL podcast once again, and we'll see you again next Tuesday. Bye-bye.